I am Erika Bragg, and this is the Rahn Family Workshop that I presented yesterday as part of the Georgia Salzburger Society's Landing Day celebration. I did this workshop on March 12th, 2022, in the Social Hall of Jerusalem Lutheran Church. The audio was damaged, so I am having to redo here in my house. Now, the workshop attendees received one of these note sheets you see here on your screen, and it was just really a fill in the blank. If I have written something, I'm going to remember it better. And so if you would like your own copy, you can email the GSS office and ask for the Rahn Workshop note sheet. That is what this is, and you can have your own copy emailed to you. Now, the Rahn family is a very well-known family name in our county, Effingham County. Right across from Ebenezer Road, we have Rahn Station Road, and right up the road from that, we have Ralph Rahn Road. There's Barry Rahn Road. There's Burton Rahn Road. There are plenty of road names named after the Rahn family members, and there are even businesses that are operated by Rahn family members called Rahn's such and such, Rahn's Greenhouses. Numerous businesses named after the Rahn family. It's been that way for a very long time. Our Georgia Salzburger immigrant ancestor Conrad Rahn started it all, and his family history is what this workshop is about. Now, even if you are not a descendant of Conrad Rahn, you probably would have some kind of a connection, even if it's through marriage, to a Rahn family member. This information will help you see how we build the primary documents to create the stories for the families. We're going to go back in time about 300 years to Germany. This is a modern map of the country of Germany. We have France right here, Austria right here, and this is the German state of Hesse as it appears today. And we're going to be starting right here in the town of Rheinrad, where George Rahn, Conrad's father, was from. We have some really cool pictures from heritage trips that one of the Rahn descendants took. The stone church, let's look at that, it's beautiful. This old church overlooking the town, Rheinrad. And those neat buildings with the timber like that. That is interesting. The Evangelical Community House here. And then some of the homes had these name plaques on them, and this one was interesting. Named for Sophie Rahn. Now, George Rahn, Conrad's father, moved to the Palatinate. This is the Rhineland Palatinate. And he moved to the town of Hasloch, and right in there. I usually look for the the state that kind of buckles over the Rhine River, western border of Germany and southern border of Germany. So here's the Black Forest, here's Hesse, where we just were. This is the Palatinate, the one that kind of bows over the Rhine River. That's where we're talking about. So, George Rahn and Elisabeth Berkel were married in Hasloch in 1716. Here's an up close of their marriage document. George Rahn from Rheinrad right there. They're getting married in Hasloch, 1716. And this beautiful church, I just love this church. Christ Church, this is where all the documents about the family were located, and there's the lady who took the pictures, Barbara Rahn Scott. She generously allowed me to use the pictures for this workshop, and I appreciate it. This is the first baptism of the oldest child, Margarita Elisabetha. Her birth was in 1716. There's an up close. You can see George Rahn was her dad, and Elisabetha was her mother. There's her name, Margarita Elisabetha. Then we have Conrad Rahn. He is our Georgia Salzburger immigrant ancestor, born, this is very light, but because it's just faded for some reason, born December 10th, let's get it zoomed in, born December 10th, there's his name, Conrad, baptized on the 11th, 1718. Then this is the baptism document for the next child, Jacob. There's his right there. Also born December 10th, which is really cool. 1721. Jacob Rahn, baptized on the 14th. Sadly, Jacob died. This is the death register from 1723, and Jacob died at 1 year and 7 months of age, right there, in July of 1723. In 1724, the next Rahn in birth order is baptized. His name is Christoph, and there's his name right there. Johann Stoffel is what is put on the baptism record. That's pretty cool to have that nickname there. You see it right there. 1724. Then we skip forward to 1731, and I looked through multiple times, and other people have as well. And I did not find any other Rahn children born. So in 1731 we have Casper. And there's an up close there. You can see his name. Now, in 1737, George Rahn and his wife and their children go to Rotterdam to immigrate. The Rhine River is the way that most immigrants left the Rhineland-Palatinate area. Really important to remember the Rhine River as a mode of transportation, because it was. So we go from Rotterdam, where the little anchor is. We go to Cowes, right here south of England. You can't really tell because of the little ship tracker going across. My husband made this for me on Marine Tracker. And right here below England is the Isle of Wight, and Cowes is the northern part of that. So going clean across the Atlantic Ocean to Philadelphia, a journey of 3,356 miles thereabout. A long journey. 1737. Now, here we have a very important document. The archives of the state of Pennsylvania are digitized, so you can go to the Pennsylvania archives if you have some immigrants that went to Pennsylvania first, because in 1727 the provincial government of Pennsylvania required that strangers being imported into the port of Philadelphia had to sign this oath, and you see this oath page was signed in 1737 by everybody on the ship, the St. Andrew Galley, that George Rahn and his family came on. So, really important terms here that we need to know. We, the subscribers, native and late inhabitants of the Palatinate upon the Rhine and places adjacent. So that they're swearing their allegiance to His present Majesty King George II. Then this says, Palatines imported in the ship St. Andrew Galley, John Stedman master, from Rotterdam by way of Cowes, qualified the 26th day of September 1737. So this dates the immigration, and it names where they came from. The Palatinate. These were Palatines coming to Philadelphia. Really cool German signatures here. Amazing. There is an up close of the oath. Inhabitants of the Palatinate, they were Palatines. No doubt, no question. And an up close of the signatures important to Georgia Salzburger's Conrad Rahn. That's his signature, his own hand. And then his father wrote his name there as well. Just, I love it. Now they settled in a region of Pennsylvania that is modern day Montgomery County, in the town of Trappe, right about there. Trappe. The family was active in this church, Augustus Lutheran Church, whose pastor was Henry Melchior Muhlenberg. Just a neat looking building there with that tan. Now we're going to skip down to Ebenezer. In October of 1750, we have our first Swabian transport arriving. excuse me. Because Casper and Conrad Rahn arrived in Ebenezer about the same time as the first Swabian transport, the first Swabians from Ulm, they are assumed to have been on the ship. That is not so. They arrived at Ebenezer at the same time, just not with them. We just saw the documents proving their immigration in 1737 to Pennsylvania by way of the port of Philadelphia. So this here, Rahn Casper, Rahn Conrad, that is not correct. And then Jacob Rahn, his son, that's definitely not correct because he wasn't born until the 1770s. What is correct, however, is Philip Paulitsch and his wife Magdalena, maiden name Vetter. Their Philip's daughter, Magdalena's stepdaughter, Barbara, her brother Martin, and probably 3 or 4 other Paulitsch children coming on the first Swabian transport known as the Charming Martha. Conrad and Casper were not on that ship. Now, Barbara Paulitsch was on that ship, and she became Barbara Rahn. Now, they were Swabians. This is the region known as Swabia. Here's the Black Forest, here's the Palatinate, and here's Hesse that we just talked about. This is this dark outline here that you can see here is the German state of Baden-Württemberg, where a lot of our Georgia Salzburger immigrants' ancestors are from. Now we're specifically looking at Bergenweiler, which is right here on the border pretty much of Baden-Württemberg. That is where the Paulitsch family immigrated from. And we have, this is Barbara's baptism, 20th July 1730 was when she was born, baptized on the 21st. Her parents, Johann Philipp Paulitsch, and Barbara Schmidt was her mother's maiden name. This is the family of Philip Paulitsch. Just a sad story. Those 3 women, 1, 2, 3, were his 3 wives. He had excuse me, he had 24 children, and not many of them survived. Just devastating to think of those percentages. We have 5, probably 5, that survived into adulthood. We know Barbara did. I've got her bolded right here. She was the matriarch of the Rahns in Georgia. And then we have Martin. We know he immigrated. He survived into adulthood. He married Ursula Schweighofer and lived at Bethany as well. Katharina we have in the different Ebenezer records, possibly Katharina. Here we have a record gap. You see Magdalena Vetter, born 1723, immigrating 1750 with her husband and possibly 2 of her children and her two stepchildren. We know this big gap here in time. A lady at this age, a married lady at this age, is going to have children in this time frame. So there are possibly some Paulitches that we just don't know about that were born. But just think on this right here with this family and all of the sadness that is evident by the deaths of these children. Now, we know Conrad Rahn came to Ebenezer from Pennsylvania, and we know he married Barbara Paulitsch. We don't have it in the Ebenezer record book, but it's in the detail reports. Now, this is the German version that was published by Samuel Salzburger, 26th January of 1752. Is talking about Conrad Rahn. He arrived at the time of the first transport of those from Ulm, the Swabians really from Ulm, and he had married Paulitsch's oldest daughter. They'd gotten married. So he'd gone to Pennsylvania to visit his parents. This shows us that, yes, they had gotten married. January 26, 1752, they had already married. So I have 1751 as their marriage date. We don't know the date, we just know the time. because of that entry I just showed you, and also because of the first child, George. We know in the Ebenezer record book his death date. We don't know his birth date, but it has his years, his age, 3 years and some 3 months, and something over a month old. So that's why I have his birthday as an estimate of February, sometime in February 1753. So these are the children of Conrad and Barbara. And George dies March 26, 1756. Barbara was expecting her third child at the time. Look how close she was to that delivery of that baby. Martin living for just 8 days. Just so sad. And then look at 1769 Obadiah and 1769 Maria. They lost 2 children in 1 year again. Now we have Matthew, Jonathan, and Joseph are the 3 Rahn brothers that lived to be adults and had children. And then we have Anna Margaret that married a Frederick Herb, and lived in Savannah. 4 of the Rahn children of Conrad and Barbara lived to be adults that had children. Lydia and Jacob do not have the death dates for them, but they were alive when their father's will was written in 1777, but then died, some time after that. Now, here are the crown grants that Conrad received, and he got the first 50 acres at Bethany, and then he asked for 100 more. And so here's the text of the Bethany grant, the second Bethany grant. He asked for 100 acres granted to him at Bethany. It was also called Blue Bluff. Ebenezer was called Red Bluff. This is Bethany, so here we have Ebenezer, and right up the river we have Bethany. And so Conrad and Barbara's land was at the southern portion of Bethany, not too far from Ebenezer. It's indicated by the red arrow. And there's Martin Paulitsch, Barbara's brother, which is pretty cool. Living next door to your brother. Now here is Conrad's will. It was recorded in the very beginning, well, just the second half really of January, the 16th day of January 1777, as we see right here. So it is not exactly logical to say he died in the beginning of January of 1777. In my family tree, I put his death in December of 1776. We don't know, but because of that time, it's like, I don't think, Martin Paulitsch, he took he took the will to be recorded. I don't think it was the day after Conrad died. But if you want to write January 1777 in your family tree, then that's definitely up to you. We're going to go back up to Pennsylvania. Conrad Rahn lived and died at Ebenezer. His adult life was at Ebenezer. His brother, Casper, came to Ebenezer with him, but went back. Excuse me. Casper came at a time when land was not being given at Ebenezer, and so some people left. Some of those that were coming from Langenau, they left and they went back to Germany. Casper, he was a very young child, 6 years old when his family came to Pennsylvania, he went back to Pennsylvania. Here is the Augustus Lutheran Church. This is the back of it where the cemetery is. Christoph Rahn, he was married there at Augustus Lutheran Church in 1753 to Katharina Setzler. 1756, Casper Rahn, right there, had married a Barbara as well. So both Conrad and Casper had wives named Barbara. Very interesting. Here are the children of Casper and Conrad. They were baptized in that church, Augustus Lutheran Church. And here are just the, from the church records. I just pulled that from the church records, the birth years of their children. Here are the graves of Casper and Conrad in the churchyard. This is Casper's tombstone right here. Casper Rahn. there's Barbara's, and what's interesting, the Pennsylvania Rahns changed their last name to the spelling of R-A-W-N, which is kind of like some of our people in our community pronounce the last name of Rahn. That's how they call it. That's more like that spelling to me. I probably didn't say it right. I can't say it exactly how some of the old folks say it, but yeah, so the name got changed in Pennsylvania. Now, here are the Rahn burials, and there are some right here in front. This great big monument, if you are a Rahn descendant, this is the grave of your second cousin, 4 or 5 times removed, depending on which generation you fall in. This is the grandson of Casper Rahn, up close monument for the Francis Rahn Schunk, the 10th governor of Pennsylvania. He's our cousin if you're a Rahn descendant. Really cool. All of this in Augustus Lutheran Church graveyard. Now, Effingham County is not the only county with Rahn named somewhere in, on a road, on a business, whatever. This is a little town in Pennsylvania called Rahn. Rahns, rather. Now, back in stock in the Georgia Salzburger Society Museum, the Rahn family book. So much information, a lot more information than what I've presented today. And they are hardback books, $45, and we're just so happy to have them back in stock. So if you have any questions, you can post them below, you can comment below in the video. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope this is informative for you.